Good evening, everyone. Welcome along to Apex Online Racing Season 17. Wait, is it 17? Is it 16? I've lost my mind. It's one of those two, and I've completely forgotten. I've had a mind blank. Either way, it is round 6 here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Bit of a change up in the championship, obviously, with Jardier leading it at the moment, but quicker than quick, faster than fast. He is Lightning McQueen himself. Aidan Walsingham is back this evening to try and retake the championship. So while things are just on the outlap at the moment, let's have a quick run through those championship points. Oh, I completely forgot to say as well, obviously I am Tim360 Lun, and I'm joined in the booth again by Martin this evening. Good evening, Martin.
Yeah, good evening everyone. So interesting race ahead of us. So yeah, let's see the overall standings and then let's talk more about this race.
Yes, so at the moment Jardier leading the championship with 441 points, then Aidan 53 points behind with 388, Remy Papin in third with 294 points, Michael Thomas 275, and Matteo Naldi with 263. So it is still very much all up for grabs at the moment, especially those top two drivers, very, very close together still. It's only going to take one bad finish from either of those drivers to really shake things up. But at the moment, fast laps are just about to start, and this is people just about starting their first flying laps. In fact, I think our first driver out there on a proper flyer is Mr. Aidan Walsingham, and let's jump on board the dashboard of the roaring Aston Martin as he's just making his way through into Sector 2 at the moment. Quite a few opportunities for people to get track limits here as well. Plenty of overtaking opportunities, which is always good here. And obviously that lovely little section where they're out actually on the oval part of the circuit as well. So a few opportunities to really open the taps and see how things go. Kumpo at the moment is our pole sitting driver, but we're just going to stay on board with everyone as this is the proper flying laps as we're seeing them now. So this is what I'm saying about you go out here just briefly out onto the banking before coming into this final chicane. I say chicane, it's a very long chicane, but great opportunities for overtaking. Pit entrance, sorry, is just over there on the right hand side of the screen, and now you get to thunder down the main straight. So this is going to be the benchmark lap, but we're definitely going to see improvements beyond this afterwards. So 1:35.8 is the lap that has been set first time round. We're going to stick with Aidan for another lap. So here we go, into turn 1. You can see there's a big curb on the inside. Don't want to take too much of that. Before swinging it back across with this long left-hander, and slips away into turn 3. Briefly getting on the brakes again before throwing it in for turn 4. Again, rolling on the throttle. Try not to go out onto the grass, keeping it absolutely flat here. And down into this. Well, it's basically a 180-degree turn. It's long, long turn. Lots of opportunities for mistakes and overtakes to be made here. And then onto this very brief back straight. Again, don't want to go too far out of the grass. So it's actually for a brief moment there, Aidan did go out onto the grass, but lost a little bit of speed there. He's only very slightly improving on his previous lap, but we're going to stick with him just for now. Jardier currently holding on to the pole position spot with a 1:35.827. But I imagine we're going to see low 35s by the end of this qualifying session. Still another 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, and also the weather could be changing in this race. So right now I think it seems that the track is optimum, or at least it's dry for sure. And for the next 30 minutes we also don't see any rain, so the qualification will be dry. But so we have a 19 minutes of race today. We have one mandatory pit stop, and we don't need to change the tires. Well, let's say mandatory. So there could be a different strategies from the drivers, and I think it really depends from the weather. What will be the weather in the race? Because for sure, if that will change from dry to wet or vice versa, the guys will switch to the changing the tires. But yeah, I think it's possible to drive 90 minutes with one tires. But the Indianapolis is not the easiest, at least from my experience, let's say, it's not the easiest track for sure for the tires. So it's really hard to do it, but I think there are guys who can do it. And regarding the weather, it's 22% possibility that it's dry, 21 that it's wet, and 57 that the weather, that there could be the rain either dry. So basically changing weather. So we have a really big possibility on that the weather will change in the race, and I think the biggest part of the drivers is not big fan of that, because then the strategies more come in, not only the speed, but for us as spectators, I really hope that there will be some rain and there will be also some dry things, so we can see the strategy, and when the guys are changing tires or where they're keeping, let's say, staying on the track without the changing of the tires, and hoping that, for example, it will not be that wet in the future. So yeah, I think a really interesting race we have ahead. And right now we are looking at Poggi. Right now we switched to Nikolai Buzov, who is right now currently sitting in the 17th position. With his still yellow livery on the Mercedes, so it seems that Tim, you were not able to get it sorted out with with his team, basically.
Yeah, I think the Sector Blitz guys, or Sector Banana Racing at the moment, I think they've kind of maybe just called it quits for the minute of trying to get the liveries working. I haven't had any correspondence back and forth with them since last week, so I think they are just happy to be out here and just doing some decent racing. I think they've just, you know, you can get very stressed with trying to get your livery sorted, but I think sometimes you just have to say, you know what, it doesn't matter. The names are out there, the team name is out there as well, and yeah, so they're doing all right. I think it's also, I think there's Craig Law as well, who is just in front of him. He is another one of the Sector Blitz guys, but he is in the pit at the moment, so probably no point cutting to him. But I believe he is running... No, that went to Craig. There it is. So this is another one of the Sector Blitz cars. This one does have a working livery, but it is wildly different from... Oh, there we go. I'm just seeing in the chat, Ben Milden, who is part of Sector Blitz Racing. We gave up. They gave up on that in the end. So, yeah. Sorry about that, boys. Next season, we will be fully prepped and ready, and we'll do some pre-season testing, so it's not quite so manic right at the beginning of the season. I'm just having a quick look at the top of the field at the moment. Giardi 8, very low 135 with a 135.07. Then we've got Naldi and then Walsingham in third. So everyone having a bit of a chop and a change round. It's quite funny that people have only seemed to have gone out and done very short stints. Everybody is currently on out laps at the moment, apart from one or two. Vinogradov running in 24th place at the moment and has set a lap, but it was a 130. Was that 136? His lap that he's done. Yeah, 136 was his best lap. So for the F1 memes GTR, I imagine that definitely doesn't seem like he's happy with the car or the setup. There must be something there, because that is a long way off the kind of times we normally see from Vinogradov. Either that, or possibly it is due to the BOP this time around, which I haven't had a chance to look at yet, but we will, before the race starts, have a quick look. We should be able to have a look and see what's gone on with the old BOP. But coming towards the end of his lap, he is way up on his time, so we should see a decent improvement. He's half a second up on his lap at the moment. And with only 2 corners left to go, hopefully the GTR can hold on. That lovely sort of teal and pink colour. You definitely are not going to miss this car in your mirrors. So here we go. Down towards the line. What are we going to get? Was in 24th, and we now find him up into 17th, so be pleased with that. Up inside the top 20. see if there's any other drivers out there on improvements. Remy Papin with the G Liga Esports. Lovely Bentley.
Yeah, it's quite important to Remy to climb up positions, because starting from 11th will not be the best. Well, the best case fighting for the podium in the overall standings. So hopefully he will be able to improve his lap time. But I think the reason of why guys are going to the pits that often is because we can see the track is green. So it means that the track maybe is evolving all the time, and the tire pressure should be adjusted. Because if the track is getting more drier and drier, as basically as lower tire, so basically the guys are either on the lower or higher tire pressure than they expected. So they need to change it. Totally brain freeze for me right now to not remembering what is happening when the track is drying up. But I think yeah, that thing that you need to do, you need to put less pressure into the tires from the beginning, because they're warming up much faster than the track when it's still a bit wet. So yeah, I think as we have only 3 minutes left, the guys have set the right pressure, and right now they have one, two, or maybe some of them that is crossing the straight start-finish line right now, maybe even 3 laps still left. So I think that's a interesting fight for the first places in the qualification is ahead of us.
Yeah, obviously that position that Jardier's got himself into is perfect, and he's got Naldi between him and Aiden as well, so puts him in a great position to start this race. As he's still on the bonnet at the moment, oh sorry, the dash of Remy Papin's Bentley as he runs all the way out, trying to keep it absolutely flat to the floor. He is up on his lap time, should see him improve, and he does, up into 6th place. That is a much better start for him to be able to be pushing from. As you were saying, obviously 3rd in the championship at the moment. He really cannot afford to be too far down the grid. Inside the top 10 is probably going to be where we're going to see him, although lots of drivers around the sort of the lower teens are starting to improve. Ranieri, one of those drivers who seems to have found a little bit more speed here at the latest part of the session. I think one of those things we're going to have to look out for as well here in the race, obviously, is turn 1. It's just over 90 degrees, and then it immediately flicks into a left-hander. So it really is one of those corners where lap 1, turn 1 could be pretty exciting, and basically all the way through that first section until we get into that sort of very small back straight. I think the risk of there being incidents is very, very high. And there you go, Christian Ranieri has just put himself up into 6th place. So Remy Papin now down to 7th. Oh, Aidan Walsingham, jump on board with him at the moment. He is improving. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough to try and take away Jardier's lead, as he is a whopping 3/10 up on everybody else. So usually sort of look at the timing board and you sort of go, oh, the top 20 drivers are all within a second of each other. But the reason why it's a bit more split up is simply because of that massive gap. I say Aiden has improved, but he is still just shy of 2/10 slower than Jardier. So Jard's obviously having a good time in that Honda this evening. It's obviously feeling very comfortable for him. There we go. Jump on board with Valentin Barrier. Obviously a previous champion, and I think it was his first race this season, last race. So come back in, looking to try and make some waves for Veloce Esports. Obviously Veloce is also where Aiden is driving for. I believe he's to drive for Veloce. You know what? I'm going to eat my words now if I don't click on it. Yes, he's still racing for Veloce. That's fine. We're okay. We didn't offend anybody in the world of esports then, but I had to double check. I had a bit of a panic. And obviously Aiden still probably sky high from being over in Abu Dhabi, taking part in I think it was the Ferrari Sim Challenge. And Martin, I think you knew about it almost a lot more than I did. I was catching up with it all post. I haven't actually managed to see any of it yet.
No, sorry, I can't help you with this one.
Oh, that's all right. No worries at all. Valentin Barrier up into 8th place, and that was his final attempt at setting a lap. Giardier still out there improving. Joe Dorber, who is running in 6th place at the moment, he was improving, but he is now sort of leveled off. Giardier, I'm amazed, is still out there pushing as hard as he is, because realistically, he's got pole already. Aiden is already in the pit. It's only really Naldi that is still out there, who isn't improving at the moment. Keep watching over this one just for now. Joe Dorber for Rebound Racing. Another one of the Hondas. Just trying to see if there's anyone out there who is making big improvements. And they have vanished from my screen. Whereabouts did they just end up? I'm sure I was looking at somebody then. And it was Josh Waring. Yes, that's who I was trying to find, because that's the reason why he disappeared from my timing screen, because he's jumped all the way up into 7th place. So that's an absolute mega lap. And I think that is nearly everyone across the line. It is only car number 747 left to come across the line, which is Kaz Lucas. Interesting to see the big gap in drivers this week. Normally, very, very close together, but you can see there's obviously a lot of drivers maybe not quite as well versed when it comes to the older Indianapolis. Right, let's see if we go to timetables. Yes, should be able to see what's going on here. Right, so the Honda NSX, that is running minus 26 kilograms. The Ford Mustang is running plus 11 kilograms of weight. The Aston Martin is plus 4. Then we have, let's keep going down, the Ferrari is plus 15. The Bentley is minus 11 kilograms. The Aston Martin is plus 5 kilograms. Oh, the Huracan is plus 11 kilograms. That's a big old hit, I think, for that car. Most cars, surprisingly, plus, apart from the Honda. And what else is the Bentley and the GTR, to be fair, both minus 11 kilograms. So realistically, the only car that's had a massive sort of boost here is that Honda NSX. I mean, obviously, it looks like it's got a ridiculous BOP, a really good sort of boost, but the idea is to try and level everything off. So they'll be looking at those live timings that have been coming in from all the hot stint servers. So either everybody in the Honda has purposely been driving very slowly, or the idea is to try and level them out, obviously. And it doesn't just look at these quick tier 1 boys, it's looking at everyone throughout the servers. So realistically, it does come down to the fact that if, most people are struggling a little bit possibly in these cars, then they will obviously look to try and boost them and get those cars up into it a little bit. The joy of a live BOP as opposed to the standard in-game one, which is fairly archaic. I think we could say that, Martin, with some confidence.
Yeah, for sure. But it seems that it's really helping. The BOP is really helping Honda, because Dauber, for example, he's finishing in 6th place into the qualification. But I think, I don't know about the qualification, but about the race finishes, he haven't been that high for sure. So it seems that it's really fitting. And also in the previous all the previous races, at least Aiden was able to fight Jardir in the qualification and to qualify mostly at the 1st place. But here we can see that Jardir was quite a place in the front of Naldi and also Aiden Walsingham. So let's see how it will go into the race. We can see also that Naldi, after 18th place in the last race, where he lost a lot of points to his opponents, fighting for the 3rd position, that is Thomas and also Papin. And so he lost a lot of points. So I think he's ready and in a good shape right now, sitting in 2nd position to get those points back. But the interesting point is that at the few moments ago, we were able to see the track was greasy, and right now is switched to the green. So it means that the track, it seems that in the middle of the qualification and the race, And we saw that in the start of the qualification there where that no rain was expected basically, so maybe there was some little raindrops in that time as the track yeah, was greasy and right now green. So let's see what the guys will do with the pressures. I think they will still drive a quite low pressures at the beginning, and they will let's say hope that the track will dry up. And right now we also can see that in the next 30 minutes we don't have any rain forecasted. But of course, as I said in the beginning, so we have a 90 minutes of race. So that's quite a long race. So let's see how it will work out. So yeah, so I think we have only 4 seconds left, so the cars will start driving the formation lap. But maybe fastly, let's go through the standings after the qualification.
That is a very good shout, and I may have completely forgotten about that bit. Okay, right, it seems like this is my first day doing this, but here we are back now. Right, Giardier in pole position. We then have Naldi in second place, Aidan Walsingham third, Michael Thomas fourth, Ranieri in fifth, Joe Dorber in sixth, Josh Waring in seventh place. This is a reasonably new name, I think, to us. Arthur Rontard for G Liga Esports Elite running in eighth place. Returning driver Valentine Barrier in ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Remy Bappin. Continuing on, 11th place is Walter Billin, Victor Martin in 12th, Melvin Crows in 13th place, Noel Jorge in 14th, DeLucia 15th place, Huggy in 16th place, Craig Law 17th, Kumpo in 18th place, Fazakas 19th, and rounding out the top 20 is Jonathan Clifford. Right, continuing on, just a few more cars to go. Buzov in 21st place, Kaz Lucas 22nd, Vinogradov 23rd, and Sandre in 24th. So only 24 drivers here this evening. So not the busiest grid again. I think a big interesting thing here at the beginning of the race is going to be, can Aidan get up close behind Jardier and hold off the inside for turn one? So even though that Naldi obviously did out-qualify him, there is a possibility that being on the outside for turn one might end up being a little bit of a sort of a curse as opposed to a good thing, although he is then going to be, obviously it's a right-hander, then straight into a left-hander, then it swings back to the right twice. So there is the possibility he might be able to sort of stay side by side, but it is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out through this first corner. Surprising to see how quickly sort of everyone's going around this. I was expecting people to go a fair bit slower and try and work the brakes more, but everyone seems to be sort of, rattling on round. Well, obviously Jardier setting the pace. Right, all the cars now are going to be stacking up side by side, getting ready for the rolling start. And as you said earlier on, 90 minutes. Refueling is allowed in the 90-minute race, as most of the cars probably couldn't make it 90 minutes. I know a few of them can, but not all of them can. I am just noticing it's saying that it's for some reason put Naldi at the top of the order, but I think that's just maybe a bit of a timing board error as opposed to it, because Jards definitely was our fastest qualifier. But yes, a bit of a strange one that it's put it there. So hopefully that's not an in-game error and that's just a bit more of a timing board sort of thing. But now they are rounding the final corner, getting ready for that run to the line. 90 minutes of Indianapolis. It is going to be an absolutely fantastic one. And no, look at that. It is putting Naldi at the front. Why? I'm slightly confused by what is going on here. But anyway, final run to the line and boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing. And it did. It did Naldi out qualify him right at the last minute there, Martin? Did I miss that? But anyway, down into turn one. They are flying down the hill. I say hill, down the straight. Trying to get it done. Jard still to the inside. And there is Aidan side by side. We're trying to keep a little bit of an eye on what's going on behind. Hopefully no yellow flags. The main one seems to be these two. There is a yellow flag. Took car number 256. We're not going to be able to go back and look at that. Oh, one of the Hondas. I think that was Joe Dorber. Just went super wide there. Would have lost a lot of positions. Keeping an eye on this front battle just for a minute, as Aidan has taken the advantage. Has managed to snap up second place. The timing board finally sorting itself out. But we are going to, at some point, I'm going to have to double check on the qualifying results, because did Jardier get put into second place during quali? Or was that a
No,
weird...
It was some weird thing, and let's see what will happen with the Naldi, because the Jardier was inside and Walsingham was in the back of him. So basically, that means that they were 1 and 3. But I don't know why. It showed that Naldi would need to be in the front of the Jardier, because let's say the split between the sides was right, because the pole position should be on the right, so basically on the inside of the first turn. I don't know, but let's see. I'm not sure if we can see the drive-through penalties from the Pulsstart, or how it's called, here in the timing board. So let's see if Naldi is going to the pits in the nearest 3 laps, then we will know why he's doing it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, normally that should have popped up on the overlay almost immediately. I know, yeah, starting out of position does immediately penalise you, and that's a game-based position. But I wonder if he was almost being told. So yeah, just having someone else was obviously looking at Jardier's personal stream. And it was saying that the starting procedure wasn't pushing him to the left either, and it showed him as P2 on his HUD. So, weird. I think that might have just been a bit of an ACC glitch or an error there, so very strange. Obviously, Jardier expected to start from pole, and I mean, he's got himself up there now anyway, Naldi down into 3rd place. But, yeah, you would have thought that he would have immediately been hit with a starting out of position, but I guess if the game was telling him to push forward and be in front of Jardier, he almost had to. Otherwise, he would have been hit by the by a penalty just for being out of position again. So, bit of a strange one. But we will have to talk with people post-race. I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to have a good old chinwag in the Discord and see what's gone on there. But for now, looks like Aiden is applying a fair bit of pressure to the back of Jardier. Naldi as well, hanging on to the back of him. These 3 just starting to break away that little bit. Oh, and there we go. Walsingham just hit the wall on the outside edge. You do not want to do that too many times. He looked like he got reasonably lucky there and didn't come away with too many battle scars, but it'd be interesting to see if that car has picked up any damage from that. Doesn't look like it. I think it might have been one of those tiny bumps that ACC makes look like it is a huge collision. But there was definitely a bump between them. So jumping back a bit further, we've got Melvin Crows versus Josh Waring, and Josh Waring has actually just got the move done. We'll go back 10 seconds with this one. Also, there's a slow Ferrari in front, which definitely affected Crows there, and he lost a fair bit of run. So he avoided crashing into the back of the Ferrari, and that is Rontard. But that has lost him a position, and now we can see Waring. Oh, and he's out onto the grass as well. Oh, Joe Dorber, obviously, after that lap 1 where we saw him go super deep, I think it was at turn 3 or 4, now finds himself back in 12th place. So big drop down. So he's going to be a driver trying to charge and push forward as much as possible. And that Ferrari of Rontard is looking a little bit... oh no, it's not. It's Victor Martin. Sorry, Rontard. I will retract my statement on that one. But yeah, looking like a little bit of a rolling roadblock at the moment. He's definitely down on the pace. He was a second down on most of the drivers around him last time round. So whether that was a case of the car not feeling quite right, or just not feeling overly comfortable, maybe a little mistake, I'm not sure. But here comes Josh Waring right up behind him as they come down the pit straight. The Mustang already looming to the inside. He's got an overlap as well down towards turn 1. Is he going to get it done under braking? Yes, and to be fair, it looked like Martin didn't put up too much of a fight there. And Josh Waring just doing the right kind of thing and just slowing the car in the right place. Takes all the apex speed away from Martin. It means that he can push on through. So now it's going to be Crows and Dorber looking to try and gain the positions. Let's jump back up to our front boys for just a minute. Say Jardier and Walsingham have now fully broken away from Naldi, and Naldi's starting to drop back towards Thomas and Valentine barrier.
Yeah, we can see a big improvement also from Remy Papin. He started at 10th position, and right now he's already the 6th. So basically Valentin Berger is in the middle of them, of him and Thomas. And then, so basically those are the 3 guys that are fighting for the 3rd position. So Naldi in the front, let's say in the front of this fight, then the Thomas and Papin in the 6th. So let's see if Naldi will be able to say keep his pace, because right now we can see that he's losing quite a time for Jardier and also for the Aiden. So he will cross the start-finish line, and it says 1.5 seconds basically, so 1.5 seconds in the 3 laps. So it's quite a big difference, seeing that Aiden is quite near to the Jardier still. But as I said, so there could be also a different strategies from the drivers regarding the pitting, right? So maybe Naldi has a more petrol right now in his car, and he's expecting to drive longer time on the track, because but yeah, so we had 57% of the changing weather, but right now we can see that in the next 30 minutes there is no rain, and also if we're checking into the skies, so the clouds are, it's quite let's say quite bright, and also the sun is there. So yeah, let's see if something will change. Of course we have more 82 minutes left, but right now it doesn't seem that it could rain. So maybe those 22% of the dry possibility will work out.
Yeah, I think obviously the drivers will be hoping it stays dry, unless of course you're a little bit further back. Joe Dorber might be hoping for a bit of mixed weather, maybe to try and get himself back up inside that top 10, top 5, obviously where it was earlier. And you can see there's an absolute sea of cars behind Crows at the moment. It's absolutely great angle, this, looking over that rear wing. You can get a real idea of the cars flicking back and forth across the circuit, battling with each other. And a bit of a wider line there from Dorber. But you can see just how, even though obviously we were saying that the the Honda obviously has significantly less weight, it really hasn't been able to close up on the back of the Mercedes there. Oh, little move going on just behind, possibly. Look back on that battle. Oh, and a Ferrari going very, very deep. I think that might have been Hoggy. Went very deep into turn 1. Did manage to get the car back in there, and now finds himself with Law right up the back of him, nipping at his heels like a dog at the postman. A quick look at the timing board. The gap at the front has pretty much kind of stayed where it is. If anything, everyone at the front is starting to spread out a little bit. It is more these mid-pack battles that are keeping it all alive for us here this evening. But Craig Law not quite able to close up anymore. I think the main thing that gave him that big jump up to get onto the back of Hoggy was the mistake at turn 1. But as we saw a couple of, we saw last week at Misano, once you make a mistake on one of the corners, it's then in your mind. It's, you're then starting to really sort of think to yourself, have I made a mistake? Is the car the issue, or is it me? And so it's a case of you can then end up getting slower and slower and slower. So it'll be interesting to see how he does here through turn 1. Is he going to lose a load of time, or is he just going to go absolutely full-blown and go for it?
I think the bigger, let's say, the bigger possibility of making the mistake and then if getting slower is when the weather is quite wet and the track is wet, because then, for example, in the dry weather you're using all the curbs, basically all the track that is possible, right? So in the wet, as for example as we saw in the Misano after that straight that is in the middle of the track, if you hit the curb, it basically almost spins the car, and then you're losing the confidence a bit to not get to that curb once again, because maybe you're braking just a little bit too late. But still, as you're closing up to the curb, you're not willing to go that close anymore, basically, to it. And in Misano, you really need to push the limits to keep on the time. when the track is more dry, I don't think in level of where these drivers are, it changes. So basically, you overbrake yourself at one turn, but in the next one, next lap in the same corner, you're once again perfectly on the line. So I think on the dry, it's much more easier, because still, if you drive a bit too late, it's much more easier to control the car than it could happen in the wet.
Definitely, the track obviously a lot more predictable when it's dry. You're not suddenly going to come across sort of, you know, a wet spot. The car should grip as it should. So yeah, I think that's probably fair enough on that one. I've just noticed Aiden has set the fastest lap of the race, as we are on board the dashboard at the moment of Dorber, as Remy Papin lost an absolutely colossal amount of time. He had a 144, I think, as one of his laps just a moment ago. So his previous lap to this was a 144, which is very, very slow. He's managed to pick up the pace again, and he put in a 137. But it has allowed Kroos and Dorber to come right up onto the back of him, and be interested to see if he can get the car working the way he did. He was very good in qualifying. I say Papin.
Yeah, but right now, even if the Papin is getting back onto the pace, as Kroos is quite close to him, so he needs to start thinking about the more defensive lines, or to braking a bit faster and stuff. So it's also not helping him to get away, let's say, and that's the thing. I would say that's the main thing. On usually the people are saying, okay, when I'm the last one of the, let's say, last one in some of the train of the 4 or 5 cars, I'm usually the fastest one, so I can overtake them. But when I overtake, they're overtaking me once again. So, and that's basically the thing, because if you're in the lead of that train of the cars, so you always need to be a bit more protective, and it's much more easier to make a mistake when you're driving in the front than you're going into the when you're driving into the back, because it's much more easier to overtake than to save. I think we saw that Papin was able to get a bit further away, so let's see if he will be able to get even more further away and get back till the Rontard. But still, he's 3.5 seconds. So yeah, so in one of the laps he lost quite a significant time. So it will not be that easy for him to get back for the fight in the top 5, the top 6. So yeah, I think he's one of the guys who is maybe waiting for the rain to come, and then strategy to come in right now.
Yeah, obviously some of the drivers will really be hoping for some wet weather. Ooh, lots of movement going on by Kumpo in the background of the shot there. You see he's trying to make a move past Buzov. And there's lots of swerving around. Maybe just trying to unsettle Buzov as they were going into the braking zone, but it has not hasn't broken him at all. He's committed to it. He's still chasing after the back of Fazekas at the moment. Kaz Lucas has managed to just eke away from them a little bit while these two have started to squabble. Oh, the battle at the front. I think that's come right down. It has come right down. Here they are side by side through turn 1. And Aiden is going to have the inside for turn 2. It's going to go back to Jardier for turn 3/4. And he's just about trying to hold on to it. Maybe a bit of a switch back here from Aiden. What can he do? Jardier is going to try and hold him off. He gets a better run off the corner and does manage to hold on to it. But Aiden is now definitely on the offensive, looking to try and get past Jardier. And Jards will be doing absolutely everything to try and hold on to this. If he can get another pole position here this evening, will extend his lead over Aiden. As I think it was 53 points between them. So another win for Jardier would be absolutely fantastic. And in the background of the shot as well, you can see, I think that is Thomas and Barrier having a nice little squabble as well. And all Jardier needs to do is try and keep Aiden behind him long enough, although to the inside. That was a big, brave move. I've not seen a move made there in a little while. There we go. Aiden goes through and takes over pole position. I was about to say all he needs to do is hold on until Naldi catches back up with him if he can defend. But there we go. He wasn't able to keep the door closed. And Jardier does lose the position, but he is right on the back of Aiden. He is really, really trying to hold on to him.
Yeah, it seemed more like a mistake from the Jardier, because he went quite wide in that corner. So basically, and that opened also the inside for the Aiden. So if the Jardier would go, let's say, the racing line or the ideal line, there would be no place for Aiden. So interesting mistake, let's say, as those guys are usually, we have used that they're driving like robots, right, for the ideal line and so on. So yeah, it seems that maybe on the previous corner, Jardier was not able to, let's say, to control the car that much, so he ran a bit too wide. But that's also quite interesting corner, because you need to cut quite a lot, and there's also that limit for the cutting, as say, and you need to understand how much you can cut. And basically, if you don't cut that much, then the car is driving in the back behind you, is able to get closer. But in this case, Jardier was that wide that Aiden was able to go not inside his car, but also already overtake him into the one corner. So that's yeah, as I said, quite untypical in this particular corner. So
Yeah, definitely was a rare mistake from Jardier there. But Aiden, he was just sitting in the wings, wasn't he, and waiting to take advantage of it. And say Aiden will be absolutely desperate to take the win away from Jardier this evening. Obviously, still another hour and 12 minutes to go, so a long, long old race to go. And here comes a possible overtake. Going to try to go all the way around the outside. Fazekas versus Kaz Lucas, Lamborghini versus BMW. It's a long way to go around the outside. He's going to not be on the perfect... Oh, big bump between them. I mean, he was in front as they were going towards the apex, but he was on the outside edge. So Fazekas tried to turn in towards the apex, but there was very much a Kaz Lucas there. 2 into 1 does not go, and so briefly gained a position. It was a big, bold move to try and go all around the outside, but it hasn't worked out. He's now lost himself another 3 positions, or 4 if you include the position he took away from Fazekas. Sorry, from Kaz Lucas. So we'll have to wait and see what the stewards make of that one. I've just noticed we need to get it on the screen. Where is the Sandre car? There it is. It's the Honkers livery. Oh, car number 54. We just seen car number 54 off of the yellow flag. We'll go back for that one. Let's grab a replay. So this was in amongst that group of cars that we were just keeping a brief eye on there. Bit deep at turn 1. There's a collision with the 999 car. I think the 999 car obviously expecting to be able to go through a bit easier than he did. Wasn't expecting the 54 to be there. And then little tiny rub between... That was the 0 car, wasn't it? It was the tiniest of nudges, but you're absolutely at the limit of adhesion. Good safe rejoin though. Got to give it to that car there. Made sure they were... Lost a lot of positions, but DeLucia did rejoin nice and safely. Victor Martin, I've just seen, is into the pit, and so is... Well, Victor Martin is actually into the pit. Vinogradov we have lost from the race, so obviously has retired, but yeah, surprised to see.
Martin is 4 laps behind, so basically it means that he's also...
Okay, yeah, he is
not driving anymore. So, but yeah, in this situation, DeLucia really unlucky, because he already lost 1 position in the previous corner, and then on the second one. So the first stop was kinda okay, but then the other, just the smallest touch, and it spinned the car. So it's interesting that the car behind was still, let's say, trying to hold even after the first push. He was still putting in, and here interesting move. At least it seems like a push to pass, but let's see. That's most probably on the.
Looking at the state of both of those cars, I think there's been lots of pushing to pass, because both the front ends of those cars and all down the sides are absolutely filled with battle scars, and obviously not a happy Ranieri there, flashing the lights at Rontard. Obviously, he is also saying, "Hang on a second, that was a bit of a push to pass," but.
Yeah, that was a classic. That was a classic push to pass. You bump into the cars in the front back. They go a bit wider in the corner, and you go into the inside. But as we saw only a small part of this battle, so we really don't know. So it's hard to judge, right?
I remember.
But
I know, you carry on, Martin.
yeah, so I wanted to say that we see that Haki is the first one that is in the pits basically, and but yeah, he's also into the pits. So let's see how long. Oh, but I think he's going out already. So that's maybe some kind of strategy. But yeah, it's hard to. Maybe he did some damage or what? Because he was the Fazekas was just in front of him when Fazekas rejoined after that small crash with Kozlauskas. So yeah, so interesting decision. It's only 22 minutes into the race. So right now, let's say doing the pit stop. I wouldn't say it's the let's say best decision, but yeah, maybe some repairs need to be done or something else, or just a different strategy, let's say. And we can see also that the track is evolving, and right now the track is already fast. So yeah, for the next 30 minutes, it isn't showing any rain. So it means that, let's say, the biggest or 2/3 of the race will be for sure on the dry track, and as closer we will get to the end of the race, as smaller is the opportunity that someone will change the tires, right? So even if in the last 15-20 minutes the rain will start, it needs to be very strong. But I think even then the guys will not go into the pits, and they will try to get to stay on the track with the dry tires, only because you can see how long is the start-finish line straight. So it's a really long one, and you need to drive for 20 seconds just in the first gear into the pit limiter till you get out from the pit. So it's really taking a lot of time.
Well, there we go. We were saying about the rain, 30 minutes, light rain incoming. So it's going to be a bit of a brave one. Who is going to be bravest to try and stick it out for as long as possible, or who is going to jump on? Well, it's going to be that thing of, by that time, if you were sort of planning on, let's say, running an hour's worth of fuel, then you will be pushing around that 1 hour mark. Really, like you were saying, it does really depend on how much fuel you've run. I mean, some people will run a 50-50 split, but obviously that really does limit their sort of opportunities to play with the strategy a little bit. Some people might be running the full tank and running for as late as possible, but that means you are going to be slower at the beginning of the race. But now this rain is coming in, that is going to change things significantly. And just going back to what we were saying about push to pass, remember there was quite a interesting interview a fair few years back with Gordon Shedden, where he got overtaken, and I think it was at turn 1 at Donington in the British Touring Cars. He had a slight incident with Tom Ingram, I believe it was, where basically halfway through the corner he just seemed to slow a little bit. There was no brake lights, he didn't brake check, but he just slowed, and there's only really one flat out racing line through there. It's sort of in a touring car when you're right on the edge, and there was slight contact between them, and then after the corner, obviously Shedden had lost quite a bit of speed after having that nudge, so it got deemed as a push to pass. But then it actually came out that he purposely lifted off the throttle, knowing that he didn't have enough pace to keep Tom Ingram behind him for an extended period of time, and there was quite a few laps left of the race. So in the end, he knew that Tom Ingram would end up getting a penalty. So it was a push to pass, but it was orchestrated by the person who was getting overtaken, which is the first time I think I've ever heard of someone actually openly admitting to that. It got him quite a lot of hate. But what insanely good racecraft to know I'm not quick enough to hold the car off behind me. I'm not going to brake check them, but I'm just going to slow my car down in a place where it's going to be a slight bump between us, where I will be deemed the victim of the incident. And it is crazy.
Yeah, but I don't think that he gained a lot of friends in the paddock in that move. I think you can do it in one, maybe in one of your farewell races, but otherwise, if you have a career in front of you, I don't think that's the best thing. And also, the referees will take a look very closely at all of the other incidents that you will have in your racing life after that one. So yeah, that's a really tricky thing, especially as you said, if he let's say said it out loud quite not that long after it. Maybe after retiring of his career could be the best bet. After that one, yeah, it's really brave, I would say, even to do that.
Yeah, he was definitely sort of, where he'd left the touring cars for quite a while, and then he came back. He was definitely a sort of one of the older breed of drivers where they were a lot more. It was a lot more like watching bumper cars, whereas sort of modern British touring cars is much cleaner. So coming up now, though, we've got Papin versus Dorber. Papin down in 9th, Dorber in 10th place at the moment. This little battle just starting to heat up. Those Crows, I think, has lost a fair few positions here, because I'm pretty sure it was Crows was up in this little squabble. So, or I might be completely wrong. Feel free to tell me I'm a complete idiot about that.
Yeah,
one.
Yeah. We watched the Dober behind him. So basically, he lost at least 2 positions.
Yeah, so not sure what happened there, but he's dropped back a fair bit. So whether that was a mistake or again another classic push to pass, possibly. Those ones heating up. We've got another one going on here. We've got Buzov versus Kumpo. And we've also got Fazekas versus Kazlukas in front as well. It looks like Fazekas has managed to get past Kazlukas. These two still running side by side. And as well, Sandre looking to take advantage. But at the moment, it is 1 position down for Kumpo. No, sorry, for Buzov. Kumpo pushes through and does get it done. Although that Bentley is looking very, very racy on the back of the number 95. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not that Mercedes can hold up. Is this a possible telltale that the Mercedes are starting to lose pace now that they've done about half an hour of racing? So I doubt they would have done their tyres in that quickly, but it really does sort of start to make questions of both those Mercedes going backwards, simply due to the fact that maybe the Mercedes just not being able to manage its tyres quite as well. You were saying before about the fact that it's quite tail happy on the back end, so whether or not they're eating away at their rear tyres quicker than they anticipated, and obviously with still just about an hour and change left to go, that is not what you want. You do not want to be then trying to nurse those tyres on for another sort of 15 minutes to then know towards the end of the race you can have the same problems again. Back to the Papin versus Dorber. Still battling out. This is the battle for 9th place. And actually, to be fair, Billin as well looks like maybe starting to close up on the back, trying to take some advantage.
And so far, could it be one of the cleanest races so far? Because it's been a half of an hour, and we can't see anyone getting any penalty, at least so far.
Oh, why would you say it out loud, Martin?
we need some action. Come on. But we have some action, but at least so far we hadn't got anything. With some penalties on it. And what we have seen also, there wasn't any, let's say, big problems caused by any of the drivers for other drivers. So I think the interesting that Fazekas, as we saw some minutes ago, we saw that he was finally been able to get in front of Kazlauskas. He needed to overtake, I think, 3 more cars at least to get till Kazlauskas. But right now he managed to do that, and we can see that he's also getting quite a big gap between him and Kazlauskas. So that really means that he's really faster than these older drivers. And right now they have once again the train of the I would say 4 or 5 cars, but yeah. Then the Sondre jumped on the curb, and that's not. But I don't know the reason why, but it seems that Kazlauskas is getting slower and slower. At least all the guys are catching him up. Maybe that's because of that small contact with Fazekas. So maybe wow, and then
down the inside. That was certainly something. You would have expected there to be sort of a collision between those two drivers, but there wasn't, because it was Joe Dorber actually and Kazlukas that were way off the racing line. They were out super wide, Well, yeah, there we go. And Buzov has managed to come back through and take away another position. And big flash from the lights there of the Bentley as well. Because obviously earlier on we had Fazekas was right on the back of Kaz Lucas. Then there was that incident just literally on the corner we just went through, but obviously a fair few laps ago. And then Fazekas managed to battle his way back up through. But actually I think we might see him move down towards turn 1 here as well. It looks like Buzov has got a decent run. And you can see...
Yeah, but the main question, for, at least for me, is why Kozlauskas is that slow right now. Because it seems that the guys back of him is catching quite a lot, and but yeah, the Buzov is also quite let's say he's trying to get a safe overtake and not pushing everywhere or dive bombing and stuff, because there were an opportunity for him to stay in the inside, but he braked faster. And right now we can see the train of the 5 cars going, and I would say the Hacky is the one that is in the worst position, because he have done his pit stop, so he's 1 lap behind those guys, so it's not that easy for him to... Oh no, but that's not a Hacky. Okay, sorry. So that's a Poggy that's in the back of them. So basically the all the 5 cars on the same lap, and they're fighting. And we can see also that the Lucy is getting in back of them, and then he lost quite a lot of positions. So I think he was somewhere around top 10 before he got spun out. So yeah, it's the main question right now is how long Kozlauskas will be able to hold all these drivers behind him, because I think it's a few more laps, and also Poggy and Delucia will be really in the back of this let's say this train, and we can see that yeah, Buzov thinks that he's really he's much faster, and then he's driving off the track almost to gain more speed. And but yeah, at the end of the straight, once again we can see that the Mercedes isn't faster at the end of the straight than the BMW, even with the slipstream. So it should mean that Kozlauskas don't have any big damage, because if he would have it, most probably at the straight he would not have that let's say straight speed same as other cars.
Yeah, can't see any physical damage to the car either, sort of looking at it. Oh, move to the inside here. Can he get it done? He's now going to be on the outside. There's a long way round to go. But, oh, the BMW well off to the inside there. And he was, that very much was not the standard racing line. The back end getting lit up, and you can see in the background as well, it's suddenly going mad. Kaz Lucas doesn't know which way to defend. He's got cars coming left and right.
It's at one point it seems that he understood that the Buzov is already in front of him, so he needs to defend. He needs to defend the Kumpu, and it gives a bit more of let's say of a gap for Buzov and Kozlauskas. So let's see how fast the Kumpu will get back to the pack, let's say, and closer to the Kozlauskas. And yeah, well, right now we have, let's say, the train of 6 cars, as I already expected before. The Buzov and Kozlauskas is a bit in the front, but let's see how it works out. And we can see, as you said, so I don't need to say it, and we can see that Lowe has received, I think, a 15-second penalty, right?
Yes, I am just waiting for the write-up to come through on that one. The 15-second penalty has appeared in game, but I have yet to have seen...
I can see that it's...
Oh, I'm in the wrong place. That's why. I was looking at the endurance one, which hasn't been touched in months.
So, yeah, it means basically that Craig Lowe receives a penalty for causing an avoidable collision on the opening lap of the race. And there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different cars involved in this accident. So I think we missed it somehow, because we didn't see any big crash with 5 cars involved. But okay, it's 15 seconds and they're still driving, so most probably nothing let's say huge, just some it was written there, so unneeded contact that he was able to avoid. And yeah, we see also Waring has given also a 15-second penalty. So basically, I was wrong. Then that was one of the cleanest races. It just took more.
We just missed an incident there. Goodness gracious, let's go back 30 seconds. We'll jump on the helicam to get a really good idea of what's going on. Sorry, I was also engrossed in the incident reports then as well. So what happened between them? Was there contact, or was that just a big slide? I was going to say that I was a little bit concerned with the way Kaz Lucas had been driving. I wonder if there had been quite a lot of moving under braking going on. So he goes very deep there. Oh, and then a massive shunt up the bum from one of the Hondas. So that was... trying to work out which one that was. I've lost my mind.
Kumpo.
That was Kumpo, yeah. So
yeah, they were fighting.
Yeah, miscalculated it. Maybe obviously thought he was going to be able to throw it up the inside, but he really just did seem to be carrying an awful lot of speed into that apex.
But that was also interesting from Keselowski, because he basically showed that he will go outside as usual and then the brake into inside, but then he went out and at the same time he went back inside and braked quite heavily. So I think that also Kumpo didn't expect it, and he was maybe trying to get inside to get a better speed to the start finishing straight. But Keselowski was already there and quite slow, so yeah, that was quite an interesting incident, I think, and yeah, that will be interesting what stewards will think about that one, because yeah, it seemed very interesting from both sides.
You've seen a yellow flag for the 747, who was Kaz Lucas. If we go back, was that just a yellow flag because he was going into the pits? Or was there another incident there? I think that we really need to keep a little eye on this one. I'm not sure whereabouts on the circuit that was. Annoyingly, when you go to replays, you lose all the overlays and everything.
That's the same. That's the same.
He has just slowed. He's slowed to a stop and then teleported to the pits. So I'm not sure what happened there or why he decided to come in when he did. Obviously, we saw him have an incident. Rontard as well has also picked up a penalty. Well, there we go. As we were saying, cleanest race of the season, right? And it's all
so it's I should citate the Odd Tanak from the Latvia rally when he was saying so that the stewards were that he was driving on the track and stewards was drinking a wine and eating a lunch, right? So the same happening here. It seems that the stewards got to the incident maybe a bit later than, but it's, as we all know, it's a volunteering job, right? So it's as soon as the people are ready to get started, the let's say the stewarding, then it starts for sure. So, and yeah, so right now I think they still have quite a big pack of the incidents to go through. So hopefully the guys will be more careful on the track. So at least we will be able to catch up the incidents till the pit starts. And right now it will be really interesting because as you said, so in the 30 minutes it shows that it will rain, and if you split the race in the half, so basically it's 45 minutes. So for some of the guys, the petrol will be going to an end already in 5, maybe 10 minutes. So yeah, that will be an interesting decision because the thing what they can do, they can only refuel basically and don't change the tires at all, and then if needed to come once again back into the pits. But yeah, there is quite a big fight right now going on, so I think it's better to talk about that one right now.
No, that's absolutely fine. It says so. Dorber has finally managed to find his way past Remy Papin, and now as well it's looking like Walter Billing going to try and make a move to the inside. Not quite able to, but immediately everybody jumping onto the back of Walter Billing, Remy Papin. So as soon as there was a little bit of his guard left down, that is it. Immediately the Mustang of Billin right up on it as well. Clifford's trying to do something about it. Crows as well will be looking to try and take advantage. And actually we can see there is Jorge in amongst those drivers as well. So he is slowly making his way up through the order. Very, very close between the 183 and number 6 there. Walter Billin really trying to push to make a pass. It's starting to look a little bit like vultures picking at a meat at the moment. Everybody right on the back of Papin. They all want their pound of flesh. They are all trying to get past. So Remy Papin, one of the big names in the championship, as we were saying earlier on. So lots of drivers a little bit further down the grid, really, really keen to show their stuff and try and get past. Interesting, the track is still only fast. I really thought after this period of time it probably would have gone up, you know, sort of up to optimum. I mean, even if it does flick over to optimum, sorry, thinking of the words out then, it's not going to be for very long, is it? 'Cause we've still got that rain incoming. I'd like to think in a moment or two it should probably start to change over and say it's sort of 10-15 minutes away.
Yeah, because it started to show that it will be raining 30 minutes, somewhere around 1 hour and 6 minutes most probably. So I think, yeah, it's a few minutes. We're still a few minutes from that it will show the rain in the 10 minutes, and we can see it also in the sky, right? So we can see that right now I don't think that we can see any sun right there, right? So
yes.
it's getting quite cloudy, so it means that it will rain for sure. The question right now is how big rain will be.
Got to quickly come on this one. I think this is going to be Billin's opportunity to go up the inside, and he does get all the way up there, completely gets the car in front, and then also now see Clifford on the offensive. He's trying to take advantage. Oh, and Remy Papin's picked up a 20-second penalty as well. Here we go. Remy Papin receives a penalty for causing contact with Ranieri, which we did see earlier on. But then Papin is not being penalised for then the contact that subsequently happened with Rontard. And they consider that a racing incident between those two drivers. But a 20-second penalty, that's the biggest penalty we've seen so far today. So after hemorrhaging positions as well, he now has a 20-second penalty that he will have to serve when he comes into the pit. So it's going to drop him right down the order. Essentially, it's going to end up being a race between Waring, Rontard, Papin and Law, I think. Sort of near the back of the grid, sadly. Sorry, Martin, cut you off on that one, but suddenly it was all suddenly coming to life down into turn 1. I felt we had to at least have a quick yell about it for a brief moment.
Yeah, for sure. I'm checking also the Stewart inquiries, let's say, and it's the still first. Oh no, it's okay. The last one is the lap 6.
Ooh,
so yeah, we're getting out from the first. We're getting out from the incidents from the first lap. So
yeah, finally managed to get through. It's when it's so many multiple cars, the poor stewards have to keep going back and looking at multiple angles of all different views, internal and external, trying to get as much data as possible. Jardier still hanging right on to the back of Aiden. I think it's going to be interesting to see who picks first and what kind of strategy they go for. There we go, 10 minutes the rain is away now. So I imagine, well, it's saying it's going to dry up afterwards. So I wonder what people's strategies are going to be, whether they're going to come in and grab a set of fresh slicks just before the rain, or whether they're going to try and keep going on their worn slicks because they're nice and hot and try and get through that wet period and wait till after the rain has stopped falling and then stick a fresh set on. So because slicks in the wet, regardless of whether they're worn or brand new, are not great, but you don't want cold slicks in the wet because you'll really struggle to get them up to temperature again.
Yeah, but we need to take in account that it's not the tire change is not mandatory in this race, so they could just come for the petrol and that's it.
Yeah, they could do. That's a very good point. I think you have to be pretty brave to not do tyres. It would be a bit of a gamble, but I suppose there is that thing of whoever pits first out of these two, you would be very tempted to try and get the track position by not taking tyres if the first person to pit does take tyres. And then seemingly the same way, if say, let's say Aiden comes into the pits first and he doesn't take tyres, then Giardier will probably notice that by how quick his pit stop is, and then he has to react to that as well. And he either has to think, I know I'll have more pace at the end of the race to catch up with him on fresh, but it really depends how much the pace drops off. It's so much more than just putting in the fast laps. It is the mental game you have to play. And obviously, if this was, if you were part of a real life, sort of a big real life team, in real life cars, that isn't even a decision you have to make. Your engineers will be thinking about it. They'll be studying the data. They'll be able to look over everything. They'll be able to look at the other teams, what those drivers are doing. They'll be able to keep an eye on the pit stops, see what's happening. Whereas, I say, obviously Giardier does have the slight advantage of he does have a very active community with him. So they would at least be able to say, Aiden's already out of the pits, there's no way he took tyres. But it's still things he then has to think about. Every driver has to think about how much fuel am I going to take, what am I going to do with my tyres, I need to adjust my pressures, all while absolutely driving, sort of at 100% speed and trying to maintain a gap like this. You think you're this close behind someone and you're suddenly trying to work out math in your head, the likelihood of you making a mistake then becomes higher, and the last thing you want to do is make a mistake and then completely write yourself out of the race.
Yeah, at the same time we can see that also Poggi is receiving 20-second penalty. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm taking my words back. It isn't the cleanest race, because from the 21 drivers that is still on the grid, we have a 5 that has a time penalty, and I think that we can expect more. Also, when the stewards will get to those other contacts. So let's see. As you said, regarding the tire change, the fuel, and everything else, it's quite hard to change the tire pressures and the stuff when your opponent is that close to you. So, and as I'm saying about the penalties, it seems that Buzo is also receiving a 10-second penalty. So right now 6 drivers from 21. So I think it's yeah, it's getting the count of the drivers getting the penalties getting bigger and bigger. So if we will get the 7th one, so basically that means 1/3 of the drivers from the grid is getting penalties, and that's yeah, we can't call it clean race at all.
At least it's only been, mostly it's been bumps between low numbers of cars. It's still nothing on what Tier 2 have managed to produce this season. I think the poor stewards dealing with all the post-race incidents, I think honestly, I think a few of them might retire after this season. Obviously,
yeah, but I would say that we also need to take in account that the track, the specificities of the track. In this track, it's really hard to get a very big crash, because usually big crashes have walls involved, right? So, right, you can see here that there is a lot of free space after in the corners, basically. So if you hit car to car, it's usually not that much of a damage, because you need to crash quite heavily in one to another to have a big crash between 2 cars.
I mean, you would be amazed when the Tier 2 boys have managed to do it. Turn 1. Oh, so I do apologise if any weird noises are coming through. My dog is dreaming just behind me on the sofa, and currently doing quite a lot of barking in her sleep. So apologies if any obscure noises are coming through the mic, but nothing I can really do about that. She's having a great time barking, presumably at a squirrel in her dreams. So sorry about that. Yeah, turn 1 at Donington. I would say a place where there is not many walls and massive amounts of runoff on either side of the circuit. And I think it was 19 cars involved in the incident that time round. So I'm just seeing Morphe in the chat, to be fair, saying, there we go, Tier 2 needs to be erased from this season if we want to get more stewards for next time round. So, 2 seconds.
I will need to check some of the replays from those races, because I'm driving myself in that day, so I can do it on the lives.
Yeah, you definitely ought to jump back and have a little look at those. Oh, here we go. Possible change for position. We've got Billen up the inside of Dorber into turn 1. Does get the move done. Can he hold on to it? He had to tap the brakes to try and get the car to settle back down again. He went a little bit deep into turn 1, but he has managed to hold on to it. And Joe Dorber drops down into 10th place. And Walter Billen, obviously that car's still feeling very, very comfortable at the moment. We are now sort of waiting to see the first bit of rain drop. Getting around the kind of time where we're going to start to see it in the next couple of minutes. We'll start to see some water. Looking at the way that the track is at the moment, 26 degrees there of the circuit and not a great deal of rain. I would imagine you'd have to be an absolute psychopath to go over to wets. So I think most people are probably going to try and drive it out on slicks.
No, it doesn't seem that it will be very hard rain, and if it's still if it's like 10 minutes of rain, nobody will change it for the slicks, because there will be not that much water on the track for sure, and it will dry up anyhow quite fastly. So yeah, but right now it seems that as we have only 2 guys, that is Hackey and Clifford, that have done their pit stop, and I think Clifford is the one that have done it in the, let's say, half of the race. It seems that all the guys in the beginning was driving a full tank of the fuel, so they are able to, let's say, adjust to the different differences of the weather and what weather will bring us. And I'm not a big specialist of the Hondas and Aston Martin fuel consumption, but I think that they could drive for 15 minutes more maybe, so I think 17 minutes is doable. So let's see when they will go into the pits. So I think they will even be able to survive the time when the rain will start before the pits, and then for sure they will be able to check. And yeah,
there it is.
And we can see that the rain is starting. Yeah, and at the same time we can see the Kumpu is having 5-second penalty. So that right now officially 1/3 of the grid have got that penalty. And we can see that Jardir is the only one right now leading on the track. So basically, does it means? Yeah, that it means that Adam Assingham is in the pits right now. So it will be really interesting what will happen right now. And so firstly, what Aiden will do in the pit, if he's going to refuel only, and he will change the tires. But I think if he would change the tires, he would do it in the half of the race, because right now not the biggest part, but still, let's say, bigger part is been driven already, then it's left. So that would be interesting if he would change the tires. So if I would need to predict, I would predict most probably that he's doing only the refueling, but from the time that he's spending into the pits, because right now we see that it's green, so it means that right now he's going out from the pits. Maybe he did the tire change, so it's really hard.
Tires. So that seemed like a long stop for just a splash and dash. Someone else in the chat also pointing out that the fact that obviously it's raining now, but it is going to rain heavier again in 10 minutes. So the way this dynamic weather works is, so it's going to continue to rain and continue to get harder. So the track already gone greasy. Might be interesting to see just how far this rain goes and what the circuit gets to. I mean, do we have a quick jump on? Let's just try and find Aiden and see if we can spot what's going on with his tyres. Now, either that is the ACC glitch or he's running wet tyres. That looks to me, I can't see any yellow writing on the side of those. There's no yellow banding appearing. So, amazingly, I think Aiden might have gone for wets there, which seems like an incredibly brave choice. For someone that was sort of, leading this race for so long. There's definitely no yellow banding. I mean, if we jump across to someone else who obviously is still going to be on slicks, and that is going to be Jardier, you can just see a bit of a bad angle for it, looking right at the back of the car, but hopefully we'll get a bit of a side angle in just a moment, and we'll be able to see. I don't think the white rim on those wheels makes it particularly easy to see, but here we go. As he comes into here, You can just about see the yellow banding on them, so have we just seen possibly one of the most decisive moves of the race? Other drivers now pouring into the pits as well. At the moment, Giardia...
Yeah, we can see that how Giardia is really struggling with the car on the exit of this car of this track. Of this corner, sorry. And we can see the track is already getting damp, and it seems that it's quite rain going on.
Yeah, I think Aiden is on wets because he was off that racing line then. He was running the wetter part of the circuit. Oh, here we go. Kiki Mac in the chat. Good to see Kiki Mac back in the chat. Try and say that quickly. Kiki Mac back in the chat. And saying, there we go, wets do make sense. Track doesn't dry very fast. I can see it being damp until the end. Wets probably would be quicker. And Kiki Mac obviously has raced with us previously and is a legend of AOR. So if anyone's going to make that call, and it'd probably be right, I'll be honest, it's probably going to be him. So we'll have to wait and see how this one goes. Who else is into the pits? Giardia into the pits. Thomas into the pits. Valentine Barrier, Rontar, DeLucia, Papin and Poggy all in the pits as well now. So sort of this is going to be the one to keep an eye on. I'm going to stick with Aiden as he comes round, and we'll see where Giardia pops back out of the pits. Sort of who has lost as much ground. Giardia he's green already. I think Giardia might take this away. He's already rolling, and Aiden is a fairly long way back. So
no, it's quite a long way to go into the pit. So we can check. So maybe you can check how far is he, because it's a really long time. But I think yeah, you see he's but there the pit exits. I think it shortly ends, and Aiden. So it will be really tight. And right now, yeah, we can see the Giardia is right now is off the pit. So.
Has he done it?
I think he's in the front.
He's done it. He did a faster pit stop, so he is running wets as well. So he did do a tyre change, but I think maybe his pit entrance was significantly quicker. I'm not entirely sure, but he has regained first place and is coming out. Lovely shot there. We wish we should have used that camera earlier on in the race. That was an absolutely fantastic shot.
That's really strange. If they are both, if both of them has changed the tires, it's really interesting, because Aiden was on the wets. Yeah, that's really interesting for me, because in the lately of the last basically two or three laps, Aiden should be much faster than Giardia, because Giardia was on the slicks, on the greasy or already wet track, and if the Aiden was on the wet, so. Yeah, it's hard to imagine how Giardia was able to overtake Aiden on the pit stop, especially as Aiden was the first, let's say, was leading the race before it.
My only thoughts.
Yeah, that's an interesting. That's a really interesting thing. So will be a really interesting thing to ask them. And we see that Warren is getting a stop and go, 30 seconds. So most probably that's. From the speeding in the pit lane.
There we go. Also, there's lots and lots of people coming in and saying bits and pieces now as well. What I was actually, Cope is saying it as well. Sorry, Crope was saying it. I wonder if Aiden was maybe slower on the part of the circuit. Well, I say on the part of the circuit, on that sort of pit entrance as you leave the racing circuit and then have to drive till you get to the pit limit line. I wonder if he was a little bit slower there. And then I also wonder if maybe then, as we were saying, he whether he missed his pit box ever so slightly. 1 second, I am going to have to deal with my dog. So I'm going to leave you for 2 seconds, Martin. Apologies about this, but I have suddenly a very needy Labrador that is asking to go out. So I'll be back in just a moment. I'm going to keep us on this battle for now to see how it changes and see how it all clicks out. So I will be back in just a moment.
Sure. So yeah, we can see that the gap right now between the Aiden and the Giardia is around 1.5 seconds. I think I think that Aiden got a bit closer, maybe in the last lap or two, let's say after Jardier's pit stop, because for sure Jardier had not that warm tires yet, and so not in the working temperature, the wet tires, but Aiden's tires was already warmed up. So yeah, we can see right now Melvin Crows that has a 20-second penalty given for him, and then we see a big fight right now between Poggi and Haki. But yeah, it's interesting on what tires are those guys driving, because we really saw that Haki is braking much faster. So that's basically. Oh yeah, but yeah, I understood what's the thing there. Haki was braking faster because he did the pit stop 20 minutes before, basically. So he's on the dry tires right now, and right now we can see how big difference it is to drive on the wet or on the dry tires, because Haki is really struggling right now into each corner. He's driving really slowly, and you see how the car behind him is getting much more traction in the outside of the corner, and with the same, let's say, with the same tires, I don't think that the green Lamborghini, this I think it's Fazekas, right? Would not be able to go out, and what unfortunate. And so two cars basically is blocking the whole track. We need to take the screenshot. We need to take a screenshot from this thing, because when more you can expect that the two cars are colliding and occupying the full track, and Papin just braked and was trying to go front. So basically, yeah, it's a wet track, and it's like full blockage. And interesting how wide Papin was willing to go. Oh, but I think he was doing that because he thought that maybe Arthur Rontard would go in the reverse, so he's not hitting him. So basically that's why he took that wider line off the track to not be hit. Yeah, we can see that. So yeah, and the interesting thing here is that Barrier is moved up to the 4th position. Okay, so we have Fazekas in front of him, but still, so basically, I think Fazekas will go back. So he will lose positions when he will go into the pits. So right now we see that the fight for the 3rd position, basically, because Naldi has lost time somewhere, either on the pit stop or somewhere else. It seems that he has lost some time, because Barrier got in front of him. But maybe they're also having some other strategy, because we really can see that the Thomas that was few seconds from Naldi is right now 16 seconds behind Naldi. So that's a really interesting thing, especially taking in account that Barriers and Naldi cars looks quite good on the track. It doesn't seem that they are driving the dry tires, for example. So, and yeah, Craig Law, it seems that he's made some mistake, and it seems that he done it by himself. But yeah, so it's wet track. So maybe braking out, on the braking on the outside he clipped the curb. Oh no! Oh no! Okay, so I was wrong. So basically he hits the Mustang into the inside and spins himself out. So it seems that he made the contact, and he also paid for that contact basically by himself, and the other driver was able to go out with some hopefully small damage. Yeah, and that was we saw Christian Raineri, and it it seems that all of the cars have beaten at least a bit, but we don't see it on the Valentin's barrier's car. It looks quite in a good shape, and he's driving in the front of Naldi, and right now the difference is 4/10. So yeah, it was 8 I think before, so that means that Naldi is getting closer and closer. So right now the question is where Naldi will try, and if he will be able to overtake Barrier right now, because it seems that it's faster, but still the weather is quite tricky, and right now, let's say, even the smallest mistake, or the, let's say, more extreme overtaking can cost a lot of damage and a lot of time lose and position lose also. So you need to be very careful on the overtaking. So it's not that easy with the weather that we have right now, and we can see that Noel Haki is still fighting with his car, I think, with the dry tires. But we saw that Fazekas, I think it was Fazekas that overtook him, and he's not losing that much time. But I think that the reason why he's not losing that much time is that the Fazekas hasn't been in the pits, so basically that means he's also on the dry tires. So they should be much slower than all of the other guys, and I think we can see, yeah. So basically, Fazekas was few laps ago. He was in the top 3, I think, and then Barrier and Naldi overtook him, and it's already right now around 15 seconds. So yeah, that's for sure that they're both on the dry tires. So that's really interesting. We have 2 Huracans on the dry tires right now, fighting each other, not in the position or in the standing, but at least on the track, not fighting, but let's say trying to both of them are trying to stay on the track,
trying to survive. Is the best way to put it. I've just seen someone in the chat as well. It's just put, did Tim get suffocated by a dog fart? No, but it did just take a lot longer to sort my dog out than intended. Apologies about that. This is the issue. I have changed around where I do all my streaming, and now my dog has access to this area. And every once in a while, I suddenly have a ginormous Labrador that just comes over and is very confused as to why I'm seemingly just shouting at a wall. But you guys at home you will know what's going on. But yes, here the dog gets very confused by me yelling, so apologies about that one. And Martin, thank you ever so much for managing to keep an eye on it. I did manage to come back and just pop the cars on the screen, but that was about it. I want to quickly just call this one out, right? So Christian Ranieri here. If you haven't noticed throughout the stream, I keep jumping back to this car at a very specific time. I keep jumping to it when it's on the pit straight, and it is because of those pitted cars. For some reason, he is the only car on my timing screen that suddenly pops up that he is on like a 0.01 second gap from someone, and so I keep thinking, oh, Ranieri's in the middle of a battle, and I keep jumping to it to the point where I'm going to end up just completely ignoring it now. So you know, there we go. I'm just gonna ignore it.
But in the following minutes, I don't expect him to be very close to anyone, because it seems that there are no cars behind him, and also not much of a cars in front of him. So I think, yeah, you could just ignore it for some time. But I think the big news right now for the fight for the 3rd position in the overall championship standing is that Remy Papin is in the pits right now, and he's losing already 4 laps. So basically that means that he's not driving anymore. So that's an interesting thing. Last time I think we saw that he was trying to avoid that crash that happened between Rontard and Dauber, I think. So basically, we saw his white Bentley on the track, and after that, I think he have gone to the pits, and that's a big thing, I think, from the championship standings, and for the fight for the third position.
Yeah,
because he was the one who was in the third position basically right now, and as if he will finish 21st, so that will be only a few points for him. So for sure Michael Thomas and Matteo Naldi will get in front of him. And the interesting thing is that I think that Thomas and Naldi will be only few points difference between them, most probably before the last race. So that means that whoever will be in front of the other one will take the third place in the overall standings, because yeah, Papin will be quite far already, and also Waring, where I think the Waring is the one that is also sitting in the box even more laps. So basically, and yeah, and then the difference is more than 100 points already right now. So yeah, and also one thing that you already mentioned at the start, so that the Jardier right now is leading the championship. So as you see how fast it could go other way, right? Before Misano, Aiden was in the let's say in the quite comfortable lead, but then unfortunately he needed to leave and was not able to race the last weekend. And right now the difference between them is already 53 points. So and especially in this race, if Jardier is able to win, then it's even more than 60 points. So basically that means that it would be really hard for Aiden to get let's say to get those points back. But as we know, it's still either it's the sim racing, but still it's a technical sport, right? So you never say never before it's finished, right? And only after the finish of the last race we will be able to understand what are the final standings.
Yeah, I think it's as we were saying, obviously with a race. How many races is left to go? Let's have a quick look at the old.
That's one. So this is the let's say sixth one, and we have only one race left. That will be in Kielami.
So yeah, it's going to be some pretty hot stuff, I think, going into that final race, because it's going to have to be a case of Aiden really doing well and Jardier really not doing well for him to be able to regain the championship. So they've been finishing so closely to each other that one drop round from Aiden has made a huge difference to the championship. I'm just noticing there, actually, noticing the Valentine barrier going well off the dry line to try and open up the corner and sort of, you know, get the nice wide entrance into it, but going off onto the wetter part of the circuit to get the braking started before swinging back in. Very brave stuff, especially the Ferrari, sort of, you know, moving off that dry line, trying to get. But sometimes you can almost find there's more grip in the wetter stuff occasionally when it comes to a wet circuit on the dry line. But circuit's still fully wet. 15, well, just under 16 minutes of the race left to go. So.
But it seems that the rain is stopped, so we can check any other driver that is not driving behind other drivers, and yeah, I think it's not raining anymore. So basically that means that right now the track is wet, but it will dry up. So right now I think it's really important on what pressures are the drivers put into these tires if they're using the wet tires. Because the wet tires are really getting really fastly getting hot when the track dries up. So let's see, but I think it's only 15 minutes left, so there wouldn't be any big difference, because if you're driving wets, no matter what pressures you have put into the beginning, it's still wet on the quite track that will dry up. So it means big pressures any wet tire, no matter on the pressure that was put in initially when changing the tires.
Yeah, I think most of these drivers are adept enough at what they do that they should be able to nurse the tyres all the way to the end of the race now. I don't think we'll see too many people panicking, although seeing lots of drivers in the background of the shot there. I think that was it was Billen we saw in the back of that shot, going way off the racing line to try and make sure. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was that's Valentine Barrier and Naldi in the back of the shot. They were off the racing line into the wet stuff, obviously trying to maintain that tyre temperature as the circuit has already started to go damp. A couple of drivers obviously sticking to the main racing line, and see again, just saw Billen in the back of the shot. Not Billen, brain. I think that was Naldi again. We just saw him coming off the line, going into the wet stuff, obviously still trying to use as much grip as he possibly can. Trying to see that everyone's fairly well spaced out at this point in the race. Obviously, there you go, look, here we go. You can see on this pit straight, some drivers sticking to the dry line, but then you can see the leading guys, they have moved right over onto the wet. So I wonder if that is a case of, as well, where their pace is a little bit more, they're working the tyres harder. Jump on board with Valentine Barrier.
I think the difference could be the Clifford is having a dry tire, so basically he needs to drive on the drier part of the track as much as he can, basically. But as Barrier and Aldi has wet tires, so they are trying to be as much as they can on the wet part of the track, just to maintain the wet tires as cold, let's say, as colder as it could be. And most probably they will do it for the 12 more minutes. But the interesting part is that we need to also some kind of follow. Also is that it seems that Fazekas is doing some kind of experiment on how long could you drive with the Ferrari without refueling it. So right now he have made 78, 70. Oh no, he's not Ferrari. He's driving a Lamborghini. So that's interesting, because at least for how I know, let's say Ferrari is really let's say is one of the best cars in the fuel consumption. But I don't think that the Fazekas Lamborghini is that economic, let's say. But still, we can see that he's able to go at least for now 78 minutes, and also in that formation lap in the beginning. So yeah, so maybe he's using other engine maps just to save some fuel. But that's interesting from let's say that's interesting strategy from him, because anyhow you still need to go into the pits, right? So
yeah, still got to go to the pits at some point. I imagine maybe he's just going to go for a splash and dash, no tyres. I mean, he's still in 8th place at the moment. Melvin Crowe's obviously has got that 20-second penalty, so even if he gets past, he will then sort of regain the position post-race when that penalty comes in. So really, then you're looking at sort of Rontard and DeLucia, which they're not that far behind.
No, I think it wasn't. It wasn't. That's an interesting why he's, let's say, still sticking to the same idea. Maybe he's really checking on how long could you drive a Lamborghini without the refueling. I can't see any other reason doing it, because right now he still needs to go into the pits, even if he's putting a 1 liter in, or a few liters, because it's 10 minutes left. So most probably it's around 6 laps, and for 6 laps he still don't need more than 20 liters, I think, something around that. So it still will be really short pit stop. It's like 6-7 seconds, but as we saw before, it's quite a big pit straight where you need to go, and even putting in only a few liters of the petrol, I still think he will be almost the last one from those guys that are driving on the track. Okay, he will most probably be in front of Hackey, because Hackey is also really struggling with his dry tires that he changed more than an hour, I think, ago. But all the other drivers are still quite close to him, because Fazekas will lose at least around minute, I think, or 45 seconds at minimum. So it will be interesting where he will get back. Okay, checking at the differences, maybe he will get somewhere around. Let's do some fast calculations.
I'll leave that to you. Fast.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, let's. Yeah. I will do the calculations, because the times are changing just right now. So.
Just less than 9 minutes of racing left to go. So Jardier has opened up a whopping lead over Aidan Walsingham now. He's really started to pull away. Huge gap between them. Aidan on a real flyer at the moment though. He was well up on his lap time. So setting a really good lap time round. Actually set a 1:40.057, which in comparison to a 1:40.025 is absolutely bang on with Jardier. He's matching the pace, but obviously that gap is open, so now he needs to really try and find some big improvements in the last sort of 8 minutes of this race to try and close the gap up.
Yeah, but we see. Yeah, I just wanted to say that to you.
This battle really starting to heat up now after sort of a little bit of a, I don't want to say a stale period, but not the most riveting racing going on for the last sort of like 20 minutes or so. Now we suddenly find, with just under 8 minutes of racing left to go, that this might really heat up. So we did see Naldi trying to make a move, but he hasn't quite been able to make it stick. He applied the pressure and did manage to get a bit of an overlap with Barrier, but he's now still managing to hold on to it. So Barrier still just about holding on to the position. Naldi now knows there is opportunities to try and make a move stick and get past. It's going to be a case of who can manage their tyres better. Now the track has already gone to damp. Look at our top drivers and look how quickly they are losing time. Naldi nearly a second off his best lap. Valentine Barrier already backing down. Jard's trying to hold on to it, but this is going to be a real close one, I think. The way that people are trying to manage tyres to keep them going. It's really going to be a case of, God, look how quickly Naldi got off the racing line and onto what is basically no water left on the circuit whatsoever. I think we are then going to start to see these drivers really start to struggle with tyre wear towards the end of the race. You can only imagine that something like the Mustang is going to eat through those rear tyres pretty quickly. And there you go, and a quick update as well. There's an inquiry that came in. It has come through as a no further action. We say that Craig Law caused incident, but paid the price for it. So as you said earlier on, that was that incident where you said that he made the hit, but then it actually turned out that only he suffered from it. So there's that one, and just look how quickly the circuit's already drying up, already back to damp. I'm really surprised how quickly it is started to dry away. I mean, at this point, if you didn't know that it had been raining, you wouldn't know it had been raining whatsoever. It's car 70 with a yellow, and then it flicked over to a white. Car 70, that was Rontard. So what happened there? We'll go back 30 and see what we can find. He said he was going slow, so what was the incident we saw there? We definitely... Oh! Just went a little bit too wide. Dipped the tyre onto the grass. Loses a position there. And has to get himself back up and running. Luckily, not too big of a spin, so probably not too much tyre damage. But that would have knocked his pace right back. And you can see the difference between... As we've gone back on the replay, and then we go over to the live images, how much drier it is. And Rontard's Ferrari now looking very loose indeed. That car sliding its way through all the corners at the moment.
Yeah, and I checked the, let's say, the point system and the standings. So basically, we're getting back to the overall standings and fight for the third position. So basically, Thomas right now is 12 points ahead of Naldi. right now, and if they will finish as it is right now, Naldi will gain 13 points. So basically that means that only 1 point difference will be between them in the before the next race. So basically that means two of them will be in the front of other. That will take the most probably take the third place. But we see that right now, if Naldi will overtake Barrier, he will earn 7 more points. So basically that means that he will be 8 points in the front, and I think 8 points could be the let's say between the, yeah, I don't have that scoring table anymore, but that now that 8 points would be the difference between the third and fourth position, for example. So if Naldi is able to get in front of Barrier, it will really help him into the overall standings, because he will get a bit more ahead of Thomas before the last round in the Kyalami. So let's see how it will go out. Of course, that's a bad race for Papin in this today, because he retired. So basically he will not get any points from this race. It means that that he will be around 50 points behind Naldi and Thomas, and I think that's in the one race it's too big gap of to get off if any of those guys will finish in let's say with a decent pace, because if there isn't any problems, that those guys are usually having a really good pace, and they are somewhere in the top 6.
Just jump back on a replay now. This is Buzov, who we saw with a yellow flag, and I think he just outbrakes himself and then out onto the grass. Round the Mercedes goes. No weight on those rear tyres, obviously, and it just immediately spun and did have to wait a little while to get back onto the circuit as well. Obviously going for that safe rejoin. I think that was Kumpo actually that went past him then, so he lost a position in all of that. Although the cars are spaced out, there was such a long period of time spent off the circuit that then he did not manage to hold on to the position. Right, let's go back to this sort of main battle going on, and it is the battle for third place, as you were saying, and it does also overlap into the battle for the championship, and Naldi now looks to the outside. Can he hold on to it? They're going to be side by side as they come towards the final corner. And Naldi does have the inside edge. The Ferrari with a big power slide. That is not going to be good for his exit speed. Naldi now is committing to it. Stays on the racing line. Obviously feels that the Mustang has the legs and he doesn't need to go super defensive here. Sticks to the racing line, and he has managed to make the move stick. Valentine Barrier. Oh, goodness gracious, he was close to the back of it. You could not have got a piece of paper between those two cars. I'm pretty sure the liveries probably just kissed ever so slightly. That was incredibly close. But you can actually now see that Naldi already trying to pull away and doing quite a convincing job of it as well. He's obviously giving it absolutely everything. 1 minute and 10 seconds left of the race. And he just needs to hold on to that position. As you said, that gives him even more points to go into that final round and hopefully try and take away that third place in the championship. And the battle for the lead in the championship as well is going to be mighty, mighty close when it comes to the final round as well. Obviously, Jardier with another win, extending his lead over Aiden. But Kyalami can be a cruel mistress, so we won't say that it's in the bag quite yet, because we've seen some wild things at Kyalami before. Obviously a 60-minute race with the mandatory stop, but yeah, we've seen some pretty crazy things go on there. Lots of corners where people can make very small mistakes, and it's another one of those circuits you were saying about, obviously, that's quite closely walled in, so you do have to be a little bit careful. If you make a mistake, there's not a lot of runoff room.
But it will be a dry race, so we can't Jardier can't celebrate yet, but I would say seeing how their pace, how his pace and Aiden's pace differs from the other drivers, they just need to, the Jardier just needs to finish last race and he will become the champion of this season. I don't see any chances of of if there's no technical issues or anything. I don't see any chance of Aiden getting in the front of Jardier. So yeah.
I think realistically, Jardier needed to do bad last race to sort of give Aiden a chance, but
yeah, exactly. So it's 100. It's if we have a 700 points in the total, and these guys are usually in the, so basically when starting, Aiden isn't so he have won 4 races, right? And on the 2 of them he has been into the 2nd position. So so basically, and then you can imagine how much 100 points is if you don't get anything basically, and your opponent gets things. So yeah, but it is how it is. So basically, there is some things to do, and today Jardier for sure showed that he was the fastest one on the track. He was leading the race from the beginning. Then Aiden took the lead from him, but on the pit strategy, Jardier took the first position, took over once again, and he won the race. Then Aiden on the 2nd. Right now we see also the ending of that fight for the 3rd position in this race, where Naldi was able to overtake Barrier 2 laps before the finish, and yeah, took the 3rd position, Barrier finishing 4th. And then we have a few guys that still need to finish. And the one interesting thing that has happened lately is that Raineri was in front of Thomas few laps ago. So right now we can see that Thomas is in front of Raineri. So most probably Thomas changed the tires and Raineri didn't do it. So that's why Thomas's pace was much faster. And he was able to overtook Raineri. So the difference between Naldi and Thomas will not be that big, because Thomas also gained more points and right now overtaking Raineri. So I will check, let's say, the points, so we are sure before we talk to Matteo Naldi, so we understand what's the difference.
Thomas is on slicks at the end of that race. So that, maybe his tyres just came to life again at the end of the race, but he is showing as he was running on slicks. So that's unexpected.
I think he changed the tires, but he changed it to slicks, so that could be the case. Because he lost quite a lot of time in the pits, or maybe he just had some problem that we didn't see. That could also be the reason, of course. Right now I'm checking, so basically it's a 14 point difference between the 3rd place and the 5th, and right now they had a 12 point difference, I think. So that's yeah, that's really up to the last round. So they have a 2 point difference. So basically that means if they finish in the top 20, I think. So basically, who of them is in the front of the other? Basically, that means that that one is taking the 3rd position, because also checking. So what's the difference between them and Papin will be? Just a close. Just a little bit of time, 79. So once again doing the fast calculation. Yeah, so basically it's 50 point difference between the Remy Papin and Michael Thomas and Matteo Naldi. That I would say almost the same as the fight for the 1st position. So I don't expect that both of guys, Michael Thomas and Matteo Naldi, will be very low. So it's a really small opportunity after this really unsuccessful race from Remy Papin, and I think I would say that he's almost lost his chances to maintain the 3rd position. That's for sure. And in which he is right now, he will lose it after this race, and he will get to the 5th position. Yeah, but it will be quite hard for him to fight. And as the Josh Waring also retired the race, so yeah, basically It's let's say in the top 6, the big fight will be for the 3rd position into the next race between Michael Thomas and Matteo Naldi.
Going into that final round, it is going to be all exciting stuff then, especially for that sort of like 3rd spot, as you were saying. But let's quickly run through the how everyone crossed the line, and obviously this is with the added penalties as well. Anyone that took their penalties to the end of the race. Oh no, saying that, no, it hasn't added one of the penalties to it, I don't think. Possibly. Anyway, right. So as they cross the line, Jardier in pole position, Walsingham in 2nd, Naldi 3rd, Valentine Barrier 4th, Michael Thomas in 5th, Ranieri 6th, Dorber 7th, Rontard 8th, Crows in 9th, DeLucia 10th, Sondre in 11th, 12th was Law, Kumpo in 13th, Buzzer 14th, Poggy 15th place, Clifford 16th, 17th was Walter Billen, Fazakas 18th, and our final driver to cross the line was Jorge in 19th place. So, yeah, clearly trying to work out how far you can go on one set of. Actually, that's a very good point. Which one of our Lambo drivers was it? Was it Clifford that tried to go all the way to the end, or was it? It was Fazakas, wasn't it? So Fazakas
it was Fazakas, yeah.
Yeah. So he actually ended up in 18th place overall. So he wasn't last, but it was a case of probably not the right call. We'll say that anyway. Right, we have got some of the drivers now waiting to come in and join us in the booth. So let's drag in our race leader first time round. Jardier, welcome to the Tier 1 booth.
Oh, hey guys!
It's got to be said, who on earth was your pit crew? Because that was ridiculously quick. I'm pretty sure it was Guido from Cars that did your pit, because that was unbelievably quick. Talk us through what happened there.
Oh man, you mean a pit stop? Like, obviously, I'd got to overcut on wet tires on Aiden, because Aiden pitted too early because he didn't have a fuel, and he basically pitted when it just started raining. So he drove like a full lap on completely wet tires. So I basically overcutted him, you know, very easily. So that made a difference that I got ahead of Aiden, and that helped me massively. Yeah, it was luck was on my side. I must say, luck was on my side today.
Happy days. So were you originally running enough fuel to sort of run as long as possible and then pit? Obviously knowing it was going to be changeable conditions, and it was just a case that obviously Aiden was running sort of a 50-50 fuel amount, I presume then.
Yeah, just in case, you know, it like obviously when you know it might rain or something. So just in case, I started on 90 liters of the fuel, and I think Aiden was like 10 liters less, as he said on the formation lap. And but yeah, like I mean, I think if the race would be dry, I would probably not be able to overtake him back, because like the straight line difference on the start finish line was so big. I was way faster in like a first sector and those like middle corners, but I don't think I would be able to overtake. But I don't know. I got lucky. Aiden didn't took enough fuel, and it was raining. That was like perfect for the Honda, you know, like perfect scenario.
It did all seem to come together, and it's looking very, very good for the overall championship now. Martin was running some crazy numbers in the background and working out what was going on, but it's pretty much a case of I think we said that you basically just have to finish at Kailami, and I think the championship's yours. Am I right in saying that, Martin?
Let's. I was saying that your Jardieren and Aiden's pace is so much faster than all of the other guys. Then basically you should finish, because for sure if you will finish, you will not finish at 20 something place. So yeah. And so I didn't do a precise math, but I think, let's say, top 6 should be enough for you, and with the pace you have. And if you drive into the pits, so it should be fine.
Yeah, 65 points difference. I think it's updated on the website now. Oh damn, that's close. That's close.
So I think what we're basically saying is make sure you show up next week, because you definitely need to, and also try not to have too many incidents next week as well. I'm just trying to say, have you won Tier 1 before, Jards?
Yeah, like I feel like 3 times in a row in ACC, but that's a long time ago.
Yeah, I think that must have been before my time, because I think I joined in season 8. I think So
Yeah, I did a couple of times in Project Cars 2, and then a couple of times in ACC. But yeah, long time I haven't. And I'm checking the calculations. I need to finish. If Aiden wins, I need to be at least P8 next week.
right, well, we'll pull some strings in the booth. We'll try and work
Oh,
something out.
sorry, no. I have to be
No,
sorry,
10th. You need to be 10th.
Yeah, 10th.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, 10th.
Oh, that's doable. That's doable. How are you feeling going into that final race at Kailami? What's the Honda like at Kailami?
It's quite good. We just did an endurance race there, so it was quite nice. And I mean, Aston and Honda, I think will be very, very strong altogether. But Kailami is not my lucky track, so I just want to say, like, I hope the Kailami will behave because, yeah, me and Kailami we go way back. You know, like I love the track, but the track hates me. So, yeah, I hope it's gonna be all good. Yeah, next week, and I don't know. I will play it as good as I can, but obviously I wanna win the race, you know. So
that's
yeah.
the thing. You're going to be pushing up to try and get to the front as always, really. So, but yeah, fingers crossed it all goes absolutely perfectly for you, Jards. Thank you ever so much for joining us again, mate. Good luck for the final, and yeah, a well deserved win this evening. The pace and strategy absolutely spot on.
Hey, thank you guys, thank you.
Cheers, mate. We're going to go over to Aiden now. Right, let's grab Aiden in. Aiden, can you hear us?
Hello, I think so.
Yes, yep, you can. The guys at home can hear you as well. Obviously, second place probably wasn't what you were hoping for. We've just been given the lowdown that it was a fueling strategy that maybe sort of undid your race, because for a brief moment we were sort of thinking, what happened there? Like, how quick was Jardier's pit stop? But as you said, it was as he said, it was a case of a lost pace. Coming out a little bit too early on the fuel strategy. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on it? Because say your pace on the track was, I think it was less than it was a ridiculous amount of time between you, laps wise. Pace, sorry. I think it was like 0.05 between you two pace wise, lap after lap. So you had the pace to stick with him, but obviously that little moment with the tyre change. So talk us through what happened when you realised that you weren't holding on to pole position anymore.
Well, the rain's really sensitive in ACC, and if you don't have the wet tyres at the right time, then it can make or break the whole stint. I just played the cards dealt. I didn't have fuel for an extra lap. I already took enough fuel for, I think it was like 50 minutes or something, 52 minutes by the time I was coming in. And that's already quite a lot. He just took a bit more, and it was the perfect amount, which meant he could come in a lap later when there was a wetter track. And the track took too long to get wet. The first lap that I did, the track was still pretty much entirely dry. I think they lost 2 seconds in pace maximum from a supposedly wet track. So yeah. So I just nuked my wet tires and couldn't. I don't know. I say I nuked them. They got hot for a lap.
But it does do damage overall, doesn't it? That's the thing. Is like you get that one, especially in ACC. I mean, I know they tweaked the tyre model, but it is still very much a case of you need to keep them in a fairly tight little window for them to actually do what you want them to do. Obviously, we've got Kailami coming up next week. I think we've run the numbers, and it's if you finish in first, Jardier has to finish 11th or lower for you to win the championship. So it's the reigning champion. What are you thinking going into that? Are you feeling fairly confident about being able to take the win next week?
I mean,
that's a no then.
No idea. Yeah, I don't know. Should be all right.
Should be all right.
I'll do my best.
A little bit nonchalant. Should we say it's still jet lagged from Abu Dhabi? Should we say that for this evening?
I don't know. It's just, I drove my best this evening. It's just Honda's quicker in the wet. I mean, in the dry, you guys all saw it. It was identical on pace.
I mean, it was still a killer race. It was still incredibly quick. I mean, obviously, just this late in the championship, and obviously that one missed round, for a very good reason. And congratulations, on your second place over. Was it the iRacing Ferrari
That's
championship?
right. Yeah.
I mean, it's only from what I've seen on Instagram. I'll be honest, I was completely oblivious to any of it going on, and then I was like, hang on a second, I'm gonna have a little. I sort of ticking around on the old Instagram and seeing what was going on to try and have a look. But I mean, it did look incredibly good, and I'm very proud to have lads that I commentate on going over and taking part in these huge events. So I think we will forgive you for missing a round to go and do that. Martin, have you got any questions for Aidan?
Yeah, two of them. So firstly, as Jardir already told that you at the beginning you started with quite less petrol. So was that a strategy from your or let's say what was your idea on low, let's say running lower fuel at the beginning, and yeah, why that much fuel?
It was still more than half the race in fuel, though. So, I mean, he just ran loads of fuel. Like, he ran a lot, like, way more than any of us would ever consider. I ran enough to go more than 50 minutes, which is a lot for an hour and a half race to do, more than half distance is you only do it if you think it's going to change conditions, and he just took a lot more than half. So it wasn't that I underfueled; it was I didn't overfuel as much as he did.
But if the track would stay dry, so would you change the tires? So was that the strategy?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that 90 minutes in Indianapolis, you can't live with the one set of the tires in 90 minutes.
You could. It's just not fast too. If you have a mandatory pit stop, you won't make it up on pace from running, the additional fuel, or to refuel, let's say 70 liters in a pit stop. That's 14 seconds, but it takes 30 seconds to fuel and take tires. So net loss 16 seconds over 40 laps is a couple tenths a lap tops, which you make up in tire wear easily. So.
Quick, one last question I do need to ask. At the start of the race, obviously, the qualifying results came in, and then as you guys all started to line up for the actual beginning of the race, it was showing Naldi on pole. So, were you getting spurious things on your end, or was that just us that were seeing slightly odd readings? Because from where we were as well, Naldi obviously was on the left-hand side of the circuit, so the second place, like sort of normal position, but all the cars were almost stacked up incorrectly. So it had Naldi just in front of. It was all a bit hickledy-pickledy. Was anything showing up on your side, or was that simply a case of it all just being a bit wobbly for us?
I think it's just Assetto Corsa being Assetto Corsa, and I will. I don't know. I just tend to ignore whatever happens on the outlap because it never makes sense. So.
That's very fair enough. I have just noticed that Naldi has actually jumped in for an interview, which I didn't expect, to be fair. It's normally by this point everyone's sort of run away and hidden. So Aidan, thank you ever so much for joining us in the booth again, mate. Good luck for the final round of the championship, and again, big congratulations, obviously, for your other esports adventures that you've been up to over the last couple of weeks.
Thanks very much. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Right, and surprise interview with Naldi. Let's grab him in. Naldi, third place at the end of the race. Absolutely fantastic that you've come to join us for an interview. I thought we were going to be finishing on Aidan, but thank you ever so much for joining us. Obviously, it was a bit of a wild race for you. The ACC doing ACC things, putting you seemingly on pole after qualifying. So that was all a bit strange for us, especially lots of confused looks around the comms box on that one. But talk us through it, mate, because it was mighty close towards the end of that race.
So hello, first, sorry for not coming to interview sooner. I didn't know actually that there was an interview, so sorry for that.
No, that was not a dig at you whatsoever, mate. It was just a nice surprise to see you come in. Yeah, usually podium drivers get the opportunity to come in here and have a little chinwag with us lesser beings in the comms booth.
Well, here I am then. I mean, finally podium, so I guess I'm not P4 anymore, so that's good. Well, yeah, I don't know about the quali. To be honest, I think in my part I was always P3, so it wasn't really P2, sorry, so it wasn't really a surprise not to be in pole. And I forgot your question. Tell me again.
No, to be honest, mate, that was
I'm
that was
sorry.
pretty much it. It was just from us. It was just like when we were looking at it, the game sort of seemed to stack the cars up differently, and it ended up being from our view from the sort of the helicam looking above, it seemed to almost stack you in front. It put you in as the pole position driver when you were on the outlap. So all of us were just sort of like looking around a bit like, hang on, what's happened here? Right at the end of qualifying, we were confused as to whether you'd snatched first place. But then, so it ended up being that you actually managed to, your car technically was in front as you came across the line as the lights went green. So it was a bit of a moment we were sort of watching to see if a drive-through penalty was going to pop up, but it didn't. So I mean, obviously, great advantage for you having that little bit of a extra run. Obviously, the race director that is ACC obviously wasn't watching too closely to qualifying, but it all worked out absolutely fantastic for you in the end. I mean, obviously, third place, as you said, not in fourth place, coming home in third. You're very pleased with that. Especially that last battle with Valentine Barrier towards the end of the race. That looked like a real close one. Do you want to talk us through that one a little bit?
Yeah, but I mean, the problem is that I pitted like one lap too late. I wanted to see whether the dries were great or not, and yeah, I pushed the dry too late, so Valentin could undercut me, which then put me in a weird position because yeah, I knew that he was probably going to be faster on the wets. Strangely, I managed to keep it together, but he did like a ton of mistakes in front of me. That was a bit frustrating too because I saw his mistakes, but when he does his mistakes, I'm always too far away from him. And the only moment where I could actually attack him, well, it's the same corners each and every time. It's like the antepenultium corner, um, where I did first a mistake, tried to overtake him, but couldn't have the run, sadly. And yeah, the second one where I took advantage from his mistake and then could overtake at the end. So I'm really pleased with that, and he really defended fairly and so on. So I don't know if he's listening to the stream, but thanks for that battle because yeah, it was really clean, and that's always a good thing.
Always fantastic to hear drivers enjoying their time on the circuit with other drivers and appreciating the sort of the cleanness that can be sort of, especially in tier one as well, just how clean and tight the racing can be. Martin, do you have any questions for Naldi?
Yeah, for sure. After the last round, I asked Michael Thomas that he moved, let's say, much closer to the battle after your 18th position in the Misano, and right now you were able to come back in the overall standings into the third position. So right now you're 2 points ahead of Michael Thomas. So basically, it will be a really nice battle for us to watch because whom of you will be in the front of each other. That would take also third position into the overall standings. So are you taking that also in consideration for the next race?
I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I lost too many points on the two race, Zolder and Mizano. So we'll see, I guess. I don't know what will be his pace on Kialami. Usually, I'm not too bad on that, so that should be okay. But it all depends on how the car reacts and so yeah. I saw that it was full dry, I think, so that can be a little bit of an advantage for me because I feel like the Aston Martin is really like better on the wets. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see, I guess. Either way, it will be a really great battle because we always like close. But yeah, it depends really if he's doing a race like in Zolder where we're not seeing him and that's it. So we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Happy days. So staying positive going into the final round, but slightly reserved as well.
Yeah.
But like literally, it depends on who finishes in front of who. Really, when it comes to that final round, is gonna change a lot in that top part of the championship. But third place in the championship at the moment with one round left to go. That is certainly something to stay positive about, I would say. Thank you ever so much for joining us this evening. We are going to call it a night now. Thank you ever so much for joining us, though. Any final words before we end this one, mate?
Sorry, you asked me or Martin?
Yeah, just didn't know if you wanted, because obviously like, you're saying it's your first time in the comms booth. If you wanted to give a shout out to anyone before we end the interview.
Well, yeah, I mean, the usual stuff. Shout out to my team, my teammates who are helping me, driving and, doing the setups and so on. And also, thanks to everyone watching. I feel like, it's really important that these races keep, having interest to people watching. And yeah, I hope you like the race, and hopefully you like the next one even more. So yeah, and
Thank you
thanks
very much,
to you
mate.
for the interview.
Awesome. Always a pleasure to have a chat with drivers. Thank you ever so much, mate. Right, and that is it for this week. We are back again tomorrow, same time, same place for Tier 2. So again, mixed conditions, so possibly very different conditions than there was this evening. Wouldn't be surprised if we have an all-wet race, because it always seems to happen in Tier 2. We always seem to get lots and lots of the rain. But obviously then again, we are back next week for the final round, and that is at Kai Lamy. So that should be a very, very exciting thing. So third position is very, very much on the line, and there is a possibility of a change at the front of the championship. Who knows? As we said, Kai Lamy can be a cruel mistress sometimes. So it's really all down to Jardier to just make sure he finishes the race 10th or above. If he can do that, then that is, well, all he needs to do to hold on to his championship, and it's been a long time since he's had a win. Want to give a quick shout out, I forgot to do it at the start of the race, a big shout out to our patrons who are the thing keeping Apex Online Racing alive in such the way that it is. So if you fancy supporting us, jump onto our Patreon. Links for that are in the description below this stream/video. But if you don't fancy doing that, or you're not able to, absolutely fine. Jump onto apexonline.racing. That is our official website where you can jump on, have a look at all the standings, all the behind the scenes bits and pieces, and also get involved in the racing as well for season 18, which would be probably next year now, but it will be coming up. And if you fancy getting involved in the Discord as well, links for that are available all beneath as well. We are a friendly community, a very community-based community, we'll say that. Yeah, and it'd be lovely to have more people coming on. Not just Tier 1, there's Tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down until we run out of races. So I think, all the way down to like Tier 10, I think we've had in the past. So that's where I live, is Tier 9 and 10. It's usually where I end up qualifying. There's a reason I'm in the booth. But Martin, any final words before we call this one a night, mate?
Oh, I have interesting thing on the Patreon, because last week before the Misano race, it was a wet race, right? So I wrote right to fourth tier when I'm driving. I wrote, guys, if you make a contact in the first lap, as much cars as it's involved there, to that much months you need to subscribe Patreon for the AOR. And guess who did the subscription? So
Was it you?
I did it for myself. So so that was the first thing what I did after the race. So I wait for the Patreon and then press on the subscription, because I was the one that hit one of our opponents. So once again, sorry for that. So we were driving in the third and fourth position. So I hit out the guy in front of me. So yeah, but I said I wrote it and I did it. So that's how the things should be done. So if you have any problems in your tier, just make the same thing, as if you hit out anyone in the first lap, do a Patreon for the hour, and that's it.
Well, if the season so far with Tier 2 is anything to go by, I think we'll be millionaires by the end of the week. if all the drivers have to subscribe for the amount of times they hit people. It's this evening there's been lots of incidents, so fingers crossed for tomorrow there won't be so many. But thank you everyone at home for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure once again to be in the booth. Commentating by Tim360Learn and Martin as well. So thank you ever so much for joining us, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you, and see you.